January after
Sorry.
no, it's okay. After working in the private sector, I believe that's what it's called. I call it regular people world. For the last 12 years, I've worked in nonprofit, higher education, both agency and brand side, specifically with a focus on content creation, digital, and social media. So I started my career thinking I wanted to go to law school with a degree in pre-law. I worked at 2 law firms and decided that was not for me. Sorry, mom and dad. So I have a fun, shiny pre-law degree I don't use. But I also majored, I dual majored in psychology and pre-law with a minor in business. And I then took a job at the Girl Scouts where I really dove into social media. And I helped raise sales by 20% that year of cookies. So if you like Girl Scout cookies or have any questions about the Girl Scouts, I'm your gal. I then went and worked at New York University under Melody Barnes after she left the Obama administration. She started this amazing program called the Leadership Initiative. And I was sort of this one woman show doing marketing, PR, events, that sort of thing. I helped raise our Rhodes Scholar winners by like 5%. It's really engaging, and leadership is something I'm very passionate about. And so we were flipping people's minds that leadership is like one old white man, and it's more of a collective group of diversity and thoughts and people and that sort of thing. Then my husband got a job at CU. We were both working at NYU at the time, and he got a job at CU. So we moved on out to Colorado. From there, I worked agency side with an agency in Boulder that works with a lot of nonprofits and brands that like do good in the world, where I did a lot of digital and social media there, which was great. I then took a job in LA to be closer to my sister, which at a beauty company called Alginist. I actually did some beauty PR work in New York when I was living there for a while. And from there, I took a job at a company called Bliss, where I helped them sort of like go to the masstige market. So they went from being only in spas to in Target, CVS, Walgreens, that sort of thing. So my might have seen us on a Target shelf. As long as with my next company, Overtone, I helped them get into Target, Amazon. So my expertise is in mass communications and mass social media, reaching large audiences of a specific age group. And when I got pregnant with my son, I had a rough pregnancy, and I was consulting during my pregnancy, and I took that time to volunteer with CDP. And I decided I kind of wanted to do something, use my skills for good and not evil anymore. Not that I ever worked with any brands that were evil. They were always, very environmentally friendly, very like vegan, like all that sort of thing. And then when David left, Karen reached out to me and asked me if I was interested in this job. And I said, absolutely, I am. And so here I am. Talking about things that I love, which is the internet, and specifically social media. Social media to me is a wonderful invention because everyone has a voice, but it's also a detriment because everyone has a voice, right?
Yes.
And I think a lot of the times brands, companies, organizations forget the main part of social media, which is the social part of it, and the extreme importance of community management and liking, sharing, commenting, that sort of thing. I think a lot of people are focused on like putting out all of this content constantly all the time and feeding the beast. And like, yes, that is important, but it is also so important to make sure you're sharing content from other pages, and like really helping to build that like wide network of things, and like commenting on other people's posts, showing people that you're there, especially, with Representative McLaughlin, like, just like if someone comments on your post or tags you in a photo, like giving like an emote, like a heart emoji, just simple things like that. So easy, low hanging fruit, helps in the algorithm, helps build trust with your voters, helps build your brand. So what I'm sort of doing at the CDP is like helping to build out our social media and digital footprint and reach a larger audience, right? Because right now, and I think specifically in politics, there's a lot of focus on Facebook and Facebook only, right? And the number one thing in brand marketing is if you're only talking to one audience, that audience is going to burn out and they're going to do the thing you ask them for, and then you're done. So you have to constantly be growing your audience, right? So you're always looking for new people. And that's where all of these other amazing social channels come in, right? So you got your Instagram. I'm a millennial. I love Instagram. You got TikTok. I love, love, love TikTok. I love where it's going. The political sub community of TikTok is amazing. Highly recommend it. And I'm going to go through all of these and like how to best amplify, build a page, and give resources at the end. Do not sleep on LinkedIn. Do not. Whatever you're sharing on Facebook, you should also be sharing on LinkedIn. It is I mean, it's owned by Microsoft now. There's great tools. The reach is there. And to become like a political like speaker, you can become like a leader on there where people will just can like subscribe to your page and see things. It's amazing. Video is king, right? Video is the new best form of content because people don't want to read anymore because we are goldfish and we have attention spans of about 6 seconds. So video is everything. So YouTube is great. And then all these videos, I'll show you how to easily make content that you can share across 4 to 5 platforms at once to make your life easier. So you don't have to freak out being like, oh my God, I have to make 17 videos. You don't. Repetition is key when it comes to content because it takes the average person 19 different touch points to remember and do the thing you've asked them to do. And those 19 touch points can come from a variety of things, right? They can be like strictly digital, like maybe they follow you on Instagram, they get served an ad, they see you on Facebook, whatever, right? That can come from that. They sign up for your newsletter. So that's another thing. They can see you on TV, they can hear you on the radio, but you need to contact them at least 19 times for them to remember you. So having a mixed bag of ways to reach people, even if it's the same person, is so important. Especially like right now, we want people to vote, especially in the primaries, right? Like a lot of Dems don't see a lot of choices on their primary ballots right now. And they're like, why do I need to vote? What's the importance of voting? And if you notice today, I put up an Instagram story that transferred right to Facebook about how important it is to just even return your primary ballot, even if you don't have choices. And if you don't like that you don't have choices, then get involved, get active, get out there and be that person that primary somebody, right? That's sort of like the message we're putting out there right now. And I think remembering that the repetitive nature of things and like really honing in on that, social media is the easiest way to do that because you're meeting everyone where they are, right? There are more people on Facebook than some countries have in population, and then Instagram is growing as well. TikTok is the #1 fastest rising social media channel ever. And it is where the young people are, right? I hear so often like young people don't vote. We don't know where they are. We don't know what they're doing. They don't respond to our text messages. It's like, how do you not know what they're doing? They tell you. All you have to do is go on and they tell you what they had to eat. They tell you what they slept in. They tell you what they're buying. They tell you everything for free. Like I was a marketer for many years and I had to pay for their credit card data before. And now they just tell me what they're doing. They tell me what's cool. They tell me what they're interested in. And so I was at an all states boot camp a couple of weeks ago and the presenter said that, and I raised my hand. I was like, you are wrong. Like they constantly tell us what they want, what they're interested in, what we're lacking. And the biggest takeaway is that they feel neglected because campaigns reach out every 2 years and then we ignore them, right? And so it's about that constant communication that we need to give people. And we need to start thinking, and I know this sounds cringy and like hard sometimes, but every candidate, every county party, the CDP needs to start thinking of themselves as a brand. And we have something to offer them. We have products, we have goods, we have services that we can offer our voters and our constituents every day, whether it's like promoting a bill that we did or that we co-signed. We are promoting events in our community, talking about open positions to run for within our community. I'm doing a lot of content after the primary about what our general process is, because I've gotten so many questions of like, oh, we have a primary, didn't we just do like a caucus or a thing? Like what's the difference between this? And like, our public schools have failed a lot of us for a lot of reasons. And so we have to be that resource for so many people. So I threw a lot out of there. Does anyone have any questions before I start diving into channel by channel and how to best use them and what audiences are there?
Okay, so you are going to go through, like, if you want to reach young people, use Instagram, but all that. Great, thank you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I have a quick question that's maybe strange. Carl, I don't know if you're going to have a recording of this, but one of my, we have a young woman who wants to do media for me, and I'm wondering if I could share this video with her. I didn't get her on here tonight. Didn't know if she wanted to come or whatever, but is that a possibility to share it? Oh, I think
you're muted, Carl.
Absolutely, I could share it. And
okay.
Megan is very accessible as well. I'll say that.
Yeah, I might. Yeah, I might hook you guys up. So, okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Megan, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
When I'm on social media talking about political stuff, I run into this problem all the time of trolls and people just kind of, I don't know a better word for it besides just trying to get a reaction out of me for politics.
Mm-hmm.
Would you recommend any good strategies for combating trolls and people that just kind of get on your nerves on social media?
Heck yeah. Okay, so this goes back to community management. I love this question. Thank you for asking. I did not put any of this in my little talk, so I'll do a couple minutes on this, and if anyone has any additional questions, I'm happy to send a boilerplate over of my community guidelines that I build out for CDP and that sort of thing. My number one rule is don't engage. And number two rule is let the platform be the police, right? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, everybody has their own set of community guidelines. And if what they're saying is hate speech, is it harassment? Is it any of those things? Report. Because if you block or delete or do any of that, there can take screenshots and then you're crossing into First Amendment territory. You don't want to see the haters, like you look bad. So let the platform be the bad person for you, right? If they're going against their own community guidelines, do that all day. And do not, I hide constantly, right? Because on Facebook, you can hide comments. So the person who commented can still see it and any of their friends can still see it, but anyone outside of their network cannot. So just hide. And I constantly report people all day. And if Facebook, Instagram, TikTok doesn't do anything about it, I have like boilerplate statements that I write back being like, hey, you've breached our community guidelines for being a part of this page. If you do this again, you will be removed. That sort of thing. Because yeah, a lot of times people feel safe and comfortable behind an anonymous name and a keyboard. And they, I oftentimes flip the script too in my head thinking about it. It's just like, you have to feel sorry for these people almost because this is how they get joy out of their life. And that's a real bummer, And so you have to think of it as like they're coming from a place of hurt because bullies are usually bullied, right? And so it's just like, or they're a robot, one or the other, So it's like, you have to kind of like, because I was a community manager for many years and like, it took me a long time to not take those sort of things personally. I mean, I still get voicemails every day at my CDP line for people yelling at me about a Ron Hanks ad that I had nothing to do with, but it said Colorado and Democrats in the paid by thing, and they just assume that it's me. So you have to just like not take it personally and just remember that it's just like that is their goal, is to cause a commotion, right? Sometimes like I engage, there's usually a line for me specifically is they can criticize my content, they can criticize the brand I work for. When they personally attack me, like as a human, then I usually like will send them a DM being like, this is a real human behind these posts, behind these things, behind like seeing these things that you're responding to. And I always respond with, would you say these things with your mother or your grandmother in the room? And that usually shuts them up. So let the platform take control and let them do it, hide, and just remember, I don't know, we live in beautiful sunny Colorado and these people do not, and it's unfortunate, and we're here working to try and fix these systems that have let these people down. So that's kind of what gets me through the day. Cool.
Thank you for sharing
Any
that.
other? Yeah, of course. Any other questions before I move on to Facebook, everyone's favorite? Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm going to start with this screen first. Okay. So you guys see TikTok here. Okay, so Facebook. Facebook is great. It is the largest platform, you know, so you can know your local events, your crazy uncle can post things on here, your brands, your politicians, everybody. It's awesome. You can also sell stuff on here. Facebook Marketplace is wonderful. So my top tips for this are, Facebook is basically for 40 to 65, generally. With a good, healthy mix of men and women. Women tend to follow more political pages than men do. Unsure why, but that is that. Top things that I always want to have on here is any event you are creating. Obviously, you're making a mobilized link for it, so we can collect that data, get it in NGP and VAN. Always make it on Facebook as well, because Facebook events, the way it works is by your location, right? So anytime anyone's in your county, in your zip code or whatever, they too can see that event advertised to them on Facebook. They don't even have to like your page, they don't have to be following you, but they will see that event. So it's very, very, very important. Groups are amazing. Facebook groups are a great way to just disseminate information. And like, you might not get a lot of engagement in groups because we have what a lot of people we call lurkers. So they're just there to like look and absorb information, right? Where you do want to get engagement on is your own personal page. And again, make sure you're following other pages, other groups, that sort of thing, sort of getting into that community engagement space. And you want to keep everything as current as possible. I would recommend, from a content standpoint on Facebook, you're posting every day, at least 3 times a day. But again, not everything needs to be organic, right? Like, I'm constantly sharing things from the Secretary of State. I share out from the party. So here's the Garfield's Pride Parade that they've shared. Here's my little thing. And then here's my post today that I sent over from Facebook about asking people if they voted, right? And driving them to our engaging Instagram story. And here's like some super fun comments, right? So that's like the sort of the rule of the thirds, we call it. So it's like 1/3 earned, 1/3 shared, and 1/3 produced. So it's like shared is like things like from Secretary of State. Earned, I'm going to pull a stretch for this one and use this from the Garfield County, because like they're an extension of us and we sort of earned this media, but like press hits, articles that you want to share from the media, that's a great way. And then things that we've created like this. And so, and again, Facebook, you're going to want to put everything out there and just sort of, I would recommend using a tool, something like CoSchedule, Sprout Social, Planoly, something like that, to help organize your content calendar, which I'll talk about more towards the end of this after we get through the platforms, to help your overall content strategy, to make sure you're talking about the same things that you wanted to be talking about across all channels, again, to hit that 19 touch points. But you can pre-schedule a lot of content in that. So like maybe you have like everything mapped out for June or July, and then so you have to just go on once a day, and I just kind of like scroll through our own feed and share things that I find relevant. Facebook advertising, I'm not going to talk about right now because that is a beast in and of itself. if you are looking to spend money there, please do not boost posts. Please, please, please do not do that. If you please do like go through the process of setting up an ad account. I would also highly recommend that every county do a business manager account on Facebook on the back end. And I'm happy to talk about that at another time as well, because that gives you a lot of great data. You can create things in there, but it is something. So I really want to share these next two pages with you guys, and I'm going to drop the links in the chat then. So these are very helpful, specifically in our sort of vertical here. So this link right here is the Facebook sort of for government politics and advocacy and all of their best practices. And they have a lot of really great classes that you can take things. So if you're an elected official, if you're a government organization, a local government, they give you sort of like all of these really great best practices on like how to engage and build out your page. Some of this stuff might be like a little bit low level for you guys. It might be just where you are. But this is a really, really, really great tool that Facebook offers. Yeah. And
just a quick question about that. What they're going over in these parts, is it how to advertise best practices on Facebook, or is this just how to promote your page in the best way?
Both. So they do have like a whole advertising section, but here's like really good best practices on like some decks, some how to do like public service announcements, like how to create different types of content depending on what you're trying to do. So this is a really great resource that I am happy to share with everybody, that I just got from our Facebook rep the other day. So it has some really great like data and like stats behind different things. But yes, highly recommend checking that out for everybody. Let me throw in, and this is also if you need any help to get started through here, like if you ever get locked out of your Facebook account, anything like that, please do go here. Okay. Any questions about Facebook? Oh, the best types of content on Facebook, real quick. Text, when you're creating a, well, let me share my screen and I'll do a example. Okay, so if you want to create a post, the #1 trending and most popular way to get engagement is literally just like type something and do it on one of these backgrounds. Those from Facebook's data and stats, those are the best performing ones. So it's very easy.
You're kidding.
No.
Wow. No. Okay.
Yeah. Other great content, and you'll see this coming from me, is side-by-side comparison images. And those work really, really well on Instagram as well. So I'm creating one right now. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen our updated like reasons to believe that we've put on the website, we've put in the dispatch that I wrote. And then I just created a document about like sort of like the modern GOP and like putting side-by-side comparisons of like the things that Democrats believe about like education versus like what the GOP does. And sort of those immediate contrasting images in bite-sized snippets are super, super helpful and work really well because, again, we're goldfish, right? So we only have a couple seconds to disrupt and gain people's attention. Because the #1 thing we're looking here for, our commodity, is attention, right? And so like what's going to stop people scrolling on Facebook? What's going to stop people scrolling on Instagram? And those rainbow text blocks, for some reason, draw people's eye. So I would at least do one of those a day. And then, because the problem is if you put a link, it'll auto populate the picture. So maybe like do that afterwards or like a couple days later if you're talking about something that's really helpful. And then so speaking of Instagram, those split screens work really, really well of those comparisons. Highly, highly recommend those. And let me open up my Instagram tab. Okay, Instagram. I think I saw a hand up before I move on.
I think you're on mute right now.
Yeah, Becky, you're muted.
Yep.
Can hear me.
Still.
I'm hearing myself talk,
Yes.
and I think all of you can hear me. Okay. Well, I'm Megan. I'm working with precinct organizers right now, and we're starting a big push to try to get as many people to the polls as we can, because as Carl pointed out to us a few days ago, or it may have been a couple weeks ago, I can't remember now, if a person can be persuaded to vote in the primary, chances are they will vote in the general. And so I'm wondering, what would happen? Would it be good or bad or what if we would post on a daily basis what percentage of people in each of our precincts have voted?
So that can work on a number of different levels, right? Because so right now you're talking about content that we label as peer pressure.
Yes.
In the political space. So yeah. So that does work really well. So if you want to do that, like, I'm not going to stop you personally. I would be interested to see how well that works, because I actually really like this idea too, because it's almost like a gamification, and like you're playing on people's like FOMO as well, like the fear of missing out of this group. Yeah. So I would love to see how that plays out. And I would do it on that rainbow background.
Okay. Well, I don't know how to do that, but hopefully Lynn Ditto will know how to do that. He's our Facebook guy, but I can certainly get the data to him on a daily basis. And
I would just put like, and just be like, we're up from X amount of people voted today over yesterday. That sounds
well
great.
I thought maybe there would be an invitation to pull them in to watch and see, okay, I voted today, and I want that to, appear in whatever is happening, whatever I see tomorrow.
Yeah. And I would also encourage, like, in your copy, I would put in the CTA, like, share this if you were in the percentage that vote, like if you voted, right? Like, because you're counted in this kind of thing. So it's like, oh, like, share this or leave a comment if you are part of the 15% that voted today.
Oh, I like that. Leave a comment. Yeah. Okay. Translate CTA.
The CTA stands for call to action. So you want to have, so you want to have most posts, I would say like at least like 50% of your content to have a call to action, because then people will leave a comment. Well, this is a broader issue with social media, right? Because to calculate the formula of engagement, a variety of factors go into this. So it's likes, comments, shares, saves, and then in videos, it's views and saves as well. And so usually you'll get one thing out of people, right? So if it's in a still image or a graphic, odds are they'll like the image but not leave a comment, unless they're like very fueled, right? If you can get two things out of them, they'll like it, comment, or they'll like it and save it. If they're kind of like a lurker, they'll just like it or they'll do nothing. With videos, while videos are like super awesome, and like the wave of content moving forward is going to be mostly video, you're usually only going to get a view. Like, think about your own scrolling. Like, do you watch a video and then like it or comment? Probably not. You probably just like watch it and like move on. But Instagram and Facebook are so good at knowing us better than we know ourselves. And same thing with TikTok is an internal metric that they use that we don't get to see is how long people have viewed something. Right. So they like can measure how long you've stopped in the scroll to view something, which is bananas. They also know like when you drop off of a video. So that's why the first 3 seconds of any video, 3 to 6 seconds, are the most important because that is when people will stay or go. So you have 3 seconds to gain their attention. Yeah, it's again the goldfish mentality is so real.
Sorry, Megan, but at some point would you talk about whether you should have your own account or just a political account if you're an individual engaging in political discourse?
Oh, great question. It depends. How comfortable are you with trolls? How comfortable are you putting that out into the world? Most, places of employment will check your social media if they're interested in hiring you. Do you want that to affect you? You can always set your personal account to private if you want to do that. If you are like someone like the representative on the call, I would definitely have 2 accounts in her case, because think about it like AOC does this too, right? Like she has her rep AOC, her regular one. Michael Bennett has it too. Bernie has it too. They all kind of have these 2 separate things. And like, I think it's about curating your brand for each of those. Like in the representative side, it's like you share informative information, bills, things that have to do with you being a representative. And then this way, if you want, it's almost like having like a Finsta, right? Like what all the young kids do, and they don't want their moms to actually see what they're doing. So it's like a fake Instagram account. And then you can have your real one. And if you want to make that private and only let your friends in, that's totally fine. But I encourage every representative to at least have a public facing representative page on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. At least own those those handles so no one else can have them and pretend to be you. But I think I honestly think that's like personal preference. Like for me, part of, and this is gonna sound cringe or like whatever, but like part of my personal brand is that I'm into politics and this is who I am and this is what I do. So that I'm constantly sharing stuff on my own personal page. Because a lot of my friends look to me as that source, and that's sort of my social clout that I offer to people, is like finding these sort of things. And I often like do political content with like humor and memes. Is that helpful to everybody? Okay. Okay. Instagram is going through a lot of changes right now. She's having a lot of growing pains after the explosion of TikTok. But it's still a very, very, very popular place to be. And because you can cross post from Instagram to Facebook, I would almost lead with Instagram a lot of the times. Oh, sorry, Candace, do you have a question? I see your hand is up in the corner here.
My question was, considering the demographic of this county and considering the limited resources, I mean, I'm assuming limited resources, this is not up my alley. I don't know how many people are active members are proficient at any of these platforms. So considering the demographics of the county, where's the best bang for the buck? You have to start somewhere. So is it Facebook? Because that's all my nieces and nephews tell me that's the old, that's where the old people are now, is Facebook, right? Everybody else, the young people have moved on. And we skew a little bit toward an older demographic here. And so, I mean, so just in terms of prioritizing, and I know you spend a lot of time on Facebook, and I don't want to distract you from the other things, but if you could somewhat work in, kind of the priority in tackling these, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think that depends solely on your goals. right? So like I would say Facebook is probably your main source. Again, like I said, the main demographic on Facebook, specifically in the political space, who tend to follow political pages, is women 40 to 65. So that if you're trying to speak to women 40 to 65 and men 40 to 65, that's definitely your sweet spot. But again, that's a finite resource, right? And so say like if that is your goal, to inform them, show them what's going on, put events on, like I said, events always on Facebook, right? So people know what's going on in their local community and their zip codes and that sort of thing. I think like that's a great place to reach and engage that demographic. However, if you, and I agree, there's like definitely start somewhere, but that's why I always want to fold in Instagram, because I mean, obviously Facebook and Instagram are both owned by Meta, they call themselves now. So anything you do on one can be ported to the other. It's way more easier to port content from Instagram into Facebook, as you saw, like I said, like posted from Instagram on here. So I would recommend that. And again, like it's about, and if you want to down the line or whenever you have like more bandwidth, be able to start folding in people. Ron is a fun troll of ours. He is constantly on here. But see, it says published through Instagram. So you can again, like reuse that content, which is really, really nice. And Instagram is, like I said, going through a bunch of growing changes now. It's sort of shifting from this like perfectly curated, beautiful, inspirational space to a shopping app. You do still have to be there because not everyone realizes that this sort of trend and this shift is happening. And especially with Instagram stories and their reels, that's still a lot of like great content there. And, you know, again, there's a lot of people about like 28, 30 to 40 that are still spending a lot of time scrolling on Instagram. So men and women, 30 to 40, Instagram. Probably even like 25, I would say, is a little bit of a stretch, but this is a great place for them, especially if you're going to be using hashtags. Their Discover page is great. So you can tag your location. You can use hashtags. Like if you guys, any post you put up should have Archuleta Dems on it or whatever it is that you want your hashtag to be. And always geolocate your posts. So you can like choose to put like wherever you are, if you're in Pagosa Springs, wherever, put that on there. So then you're more likely to show up in people around you on Instagram as well. The way I would work this content is obviously the feed, the grid. This is like much more forever content. So like videos go here, things like, you know, file your taxes by June 30th. A little bit still keeping that curated vibe. So promoting events that people can come back to, put here holiday content. If you have like an event and you want to share a bunch of photos from there, definitely put that on here. So people can like, comment, save, share, that sort of thing. Going into Instagram stories, these last 15 seconds. Oh, yes, Michael?
Sorry, Megan. I just wanted to respond to Candace's question really quickly. I will also be in Durango this entire cycle, and I know that our campaign is going to work really closely with you guys to get effective messaging going forward and try to be a cohesive unit in the best way possible. So I will definitely be there to help you folks in any way that I can in setting up any of the technology that you need if you have any obstacles. I know these platforms fairly well, so in any way that I can help, I'll be a resource for you folks as well.
Thanks. That's awesome. So stories are the most popular way that people sort of work with Facebook. These work in 15-second increments. Stories are great because they can be videos or stills. You can link you can share links to articles and stuff as well, only in stories, right? So if there is a link, a mobilized link or something like that, always share that in your stories, because you cannot share links in a grid post. But this should feel very like organic and like natural, like see, like you often like use the tool, and this can port over to Facebook super easily as well. You can see like they have the link there. And this oftentimes like people just kind of like reshare their own posts on here, because you're oftentimes having a larger reach on stories than you are in the grid, because for the feed, it is oftentimes pay to play. So they prioritize people who are paying to have their content go in front of eyeballs. So I would highly recommend using stories. It disappears after 24 hours. And so especially if there's something you guys just like want to get up and say, or just share something that is happening, you know, in the next couple of days, that's a great way to do that. And again, Instagram is for that kind of like sweet millennial spot, 30 to 40, 27, 28 to 40. It's a great time on here. And this is a really good place too to kind of like share these graphics. They work a lot they work a lot better on Instagram, and they sometimes do okay on Facebook, I found. So kind of like experiment here, anything like that. Is there anything else you guys want me to particularly talk about with Instagram? Cool beans. Okay, so I'll drop this in the chat as well. Instagram has a great toolkit as well about how to set up your account, how to get verified. Getting verified is really important to sharing your content and from a political standpoint, because it kind of gives you validity. And again, even if you don't want to use all of these platforms, and you don't have to, and you want to prioritize, please do make sure you at least have all your handles, right? So like make sure you create an @Archuleta Dems Instagram account, even if you don't use it. So a troll, somebody like that can't take that name. And then you're like, oh, well, now what, now who are we kind of thing, or if they pretend to post as you and that sort of thing. But if that does happen, please do reach out to me, because we can get them taken down and removed, and we can own that. Okay. Everyone's new favorite topic of TikTok. I love TikTok for a number of reasons. They have the best algorithm. You can find, the thing about social media, right, is that you could kind of like always like find your niche, right? Because it's a feedback loop of like what you're interested in, and they feed you more of that. With TikTok, the niches, the communities, and the groups are so specialized. It is oh. Does anyone else hear that? Oh, sorry, it's TikTok. Hold on. It's so like I'm right now, my whole thing is I'm on gay farmer TikTok, as well as clean talk, which is all about cleaning techniques for your house, as well as like mom talk. But the political sphere is booming on TikTok. Young people are engaged, young people care, they're asking questions, they're sharing content. There are so many TikTokers on there that just do like news reports and like roundups of the day. There's this amazing account called Under the Desk News, where she just reports the news from under her desk at the end of the day, and everyone is obsessed with it and she loves it. There's this great account called the Pocket Report. And then I think with this space, you can be informative, you can be funny, you can be genuine, you can be yourself, right? Because you are not competing with brands and advertisements the same way you are on Facebook and Instagram. So you can easily reach 4 times the amount of people you could on TikTok for free than you could on Instagram and Facebook for free. So I could talk about TikTok forever, and I think like that should be its own sort of like thing. But to me, that is the future. That is how you amplify your voice, and that is how you change minds, because the way that the platform is set up is, you know, you can duet people's content. So if somebody's sharing something that you really like, you can then like add to it, and then people can see both of that sort of things. People comment way more on TikTok than they do on any other platform. They share, they like, it is everything. So if you are looking for the reach, to reach new people, to reach above and beyond, that is your space, because it's also the way the algorithm works is it's hyper local as well. They take your location into consideration. So I'm much more likely to see content from Colorado than someone from California is, right? So, and there's this really great TikTok account I have to show you guys. This girl called Western Water Girl, and her whole account is about the water crisis. She's in Montezuma County. She's gone viral multiple times, talking about Lake Mead, Lake Powell, that sort of thing, and the water compact. And there's people in Colorado who are like, yes, like I didn't know about this. I did on my personal TikTok account a post explaining Gonzalez versus Castle Rock, city of Castle Rock, for the Supreme Court case after the Uvalde shooting. And there were so many people who I got comments being like, I'm from Castle Rock and I'd never heard of this case before. Like I had no idea. So it's just like the amount of community there and the openness, and especially the Gen Zers, millennials, Gen X and boomers are all there, right? Like mom TikTok. So if you want a one-stop shop to hit everybody, that's it. And it might seem scary and it might seem daunting, but go ahead, Carl.
Oops, sorry.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask about TikTok. I'm not a big user of that. Are you talking about actually having, we would like have a county TikTok and then also personal TikToks accounts?
If you do not want a personal TikTok account, I will not force you. I personally think everyone should have one because it's fun.
Okay.
And you never know who you're going to find. Especially, it's really good to me, I think, to have a personal one, so you can see the trends. And obviously, the algorithm might feed you something different, Carl, than it feeds Lynn, right? And then you guys are like, oh, like, did you see this? Can you share this kind of thing? Which is great. And then for the county one, that's an absolute yes, right? And I think like you can curate that. Like if you guys want to share things, like if Adam Frisch is there and you guys like do a video of him being like, hey, Adam was here, here's the questions he asked, or here's the questions he answered, like that's it. And they can be short. So the way TikTok works is like you can like have things like 6 seconds is like the sweet spot for under 15, but then you can also have one up to 3 minutes. So if you want to do like a more like long explaining thing, that's really, really great. But I'm gonna praise TikTok all day long. And I know we're already at 8 o'clock, but please, please also use LinkedIn. So any like articles that you guys like from your local newspapers that are about the Dems, about something that we're working on, share to LinkedIn. And then the same thing with Twitter. Twitter is a great place to share out those articles to help just amplify those stories. And again, those hashtags that you wanted to use in Instagram, use them on Twitter as well. Yes, like I said, I could talk about this kind of stuff all day long. So I will leave it here for questions. I do want to be mindful of everybody's time and my child's bedtime. So and if there's anything I didn't answer that you guys like would love to know about, please do ask now.
So is the best way just to get in and do it? I mean, I think a lot of us are hesitant to put things on the web because we don't really feel comfortable with some of these newer platforms. So so is there any danger in just playing with them? Is it?
So yeah, so if you're nervous, I would start with like stories, right? Because those disappear in 24 hours on Instagram.
Okay.
So it's very low commitment, right? So if you put it out there and it does well in the first 24 hours, you're like, great, I love that. And then you also don't really have to worry about it because then it's gone and people move on and they forget about things. Also, the way that the algorithms work, that it like if it's popular, it'll become more popular. But if no one is watching it, then it'll kind of teeter off. So you can kind of gauge like how that, like what kind of content your audience wants. And I think that's sort of like the sweet spot when you're creating content to put on these social media channels is like, what do you want to say? And what does your audience actually want to hear? Right. And how you sort of like marry those two together. And I find that the best content elicits a feeling. Is it happy? Is it sad? Do you get pissed off? I tend to lean towards happy because studies have shown that type of content leaves a longer lasting impression than like if you're filled with rage, suddenly you like bang on the keyboard and then you kind of move on. But you remember the happy feeling that like, oh, that like funny cat video made you feel kind of thing. So I highly recommend that. And like, and I completely understand with the trolls, like it is hard to put yourself out there on the internet. So if you're not comfortable like putting your face on there or like your voice, then I would say almost all of us can be like influencers, right? Like be an influencer to your personal network. You don't have to like be the face of the Archuleta Dems, but your friends follow you on Facebook or Instagram and like you have push and pull and influence on them. We found in the beauty marketing space that micro influencers move the needle the most, right? Because they have a smaller following, because people are following them, loving them, and listening to them. They're way more engaged than people who have like 1 million followers. So like 5,000 and under tend to do the most for people, because people will listen to what they say because they're following them because they trust them. So I always try to say like be an influencer or a brand ambassador in your own personal life if you don't want to be like out there in the public, which I completely understand. I'm an Aries, so like I enjoy attention, but like it's all personal preference. And I think the way that then you can help is just like, oh, look at this cool article and like share that out, or it's something like that on the Archuleta page.
Oh, terrific.
Thank you.
Yeah, and please, if you think of any questions after this, like I'm an email away, I'll throw it in the chat. Please do like send me anything.
Sorry, Michael, I think I may have stepped on a question you were going to ask.
You are all good. I am gonna email Megan about TikTok stuff later because I know all of you are super engaged in TikTok, so you already know all you need to know.
Yeah. And if you all want help on building out your content calendar, it's the one screen I didn't share. I will share with everyone right now. I think that's the wrong tab. That's the democracy tour. I don't know what it is about Zoom is like, I'm like, show this screen, please. But then like all of my other screens pop up. And I'm sorry if I have 1,000 tabs open and that gives anyone anxiety, but that's just how I have to work. So this is sort of like my marketing calendar. So I mapped it out for the year, highlighting sort of like our main topics. So like climate, education, public safety, health, money, equality, and culture, and sort of like, what are we talking about? And then I underline that, laying it out like, okay, what is our messaging focus month by month, overlaid with like, what kind of bills and issues can we focus on there that were passed? Intersection. So I use intersectionality here, specifically like intersectional feminism and that sort of thing. So like, is it Black History Month, Women's History Month? Like, how does that sort of layer in? And then do not forget about editorial and lifestyle. I feel like people like want to just like post whatever they want, whenever they want. I always go in and look at Google Trends and see sort of like what's on top of mind for people, right? Because then the content sticks and it's a little bit more relevant because people are already thinking about these things. So I like in May, right, we talked about student success, money, voting, and education because graduation is happening then, right? So it's like already on top of mind. We already start talking about voting in August, early, because we want it in there. And then again, in September, we bring education back in August and September because it's back to school time. And so people are once again thinking about school. I bring climate change in the summer because it's the first day of summer. We're going to see fires, we're going to see air quality and all of that sort of thing. So I think this laying something out like this is really helpful. And then I sort of lay it out like month by month, day by day, what's going to go on everything. And if anyone wants a copy of this, I'm happy to share with it as well. That's just kind of like my Excel spreadsheet version of something that could be a lot nicer. But it is what it is. But it helps me sort of like stay organized.
Is there a web page where we could do a step-by-step TikTok information?
Yeah, I'll throw that in the chat. I also really like TikTok because they use the 9:16 video frame, which is the vertical, which you can then post directly onto Reels on Instagram, and it goes right onto Twitter. So you can put it across all the platforms. No, my calendar, like, do I use the coordinated or did I make it myself kind of thing?
Well, I'm
I
going to
see
meet
the chat.
Yeah, I'm going to meet with, let me see who it is. I'm going to meet with somebody from the party to talk about the coordinated campaign
Okay.
next week. And so I was just wondering if what you put up was part of the coordinated campaign for the party.
So I'm working with the coordinated now. They don't have a comms person, so I'm kind of just guiding them a little bit with what I'm doing, and we're all kind of like going along sort of like as things pop up. But one of the things that I like about having this calendar done and like having forethought is then when things do pop up, you have the creative brain space to be more reactionary, right? So if all of a sudden like Lauren Boebert says something crazy, which she does every day, so that's like not a great example, but like she says something particular, like, okay, how about when she voted no for the baby formula stuff, right? And I have a 9-month-old, and so like that just like put me over, right? And so I already have my content. I'm not thinking about that. I'm like, oh, what can I do to promote this, to talk about this, like to further show that she sucks so much, right? And so like with the coordinated campaign, that's kind of what I'm doing. They're doing a lot more of organizational outreach from a traditional politics standpoint. So they're doing a lot of like mailers. I see the value in them, but I'm a millennial. I am, knock on wood, fortunate enough that I just bought a house, but like so many of my friends don't own homes. So like mailing, it's just not a way to like gather young people. I feel like mailers, because they're constantly moving their address and like sleeping on couches and that sort of thing. So to me, again, it's like, where do we want to put our investment? And that's sort of like my mind shift in politics right now. Candace.
Okay, so I'm going to be totally transparent here. I have never even looked at TikTok. And so if I wanted to just get a feel of what you're doing that helps the party, like, are there three people to sort of like go follow on TikTok to get a sense of how people are using TikTok to promote the party?
Okay. Oh my God. Okay. So this is a tough one. Okay. So the DNC has a TikTok account, obviously, so I would follow them. The Democrats, they're pretty good. Stacey Abrams TikTok, amazing. She's amazing at everything she does, so I don't think any of us are surprised about that. If you want to get like real nerdy, I made it to Excel TikTok, where there's this guy who has TikTok refers to it as the TikTok spreadsheet, where he basically has aggregated the best states to live based on a variety of things, everything from crime to gun sales to how many hours would you need to work a minimum wage job to afford an apartment. And basically what he shows through this data driven thing, that blue states are better on across the board. And so he's really, really cool.
What's that one
his
called?
TikTok.
What's that one?
So his is called That Nick Powers Guy. I'll put it in the chat. So he will be your gateway to, if you guys want to follow, he'll be your gateway into spreadsheet TikTok. Soul and Alex Walk. So Sandoval and Alex Walker both have TikToks. Soul has, I think, like 15 or 20,000 followers. Alex has like 60,000 followers. So they're fairly popular, which is interesting. Follow the Western Water Girl. She's great. And then so the also, if you love content, to follow NPR's Planet Money. Oops. They have a young kid who does content for them explaining all kinds of things, and that's great. But yeah, and you know who else has a really great one? Katie Porter from California. She actually became really popular on TikTok for that whiteboard video she put out.
Thank you. That's tremendously helpful. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. This is what I love. So yeah, it's not just all dancing teenagers. It's actually a lot of people who are very involved. It's great. And it's great to see. Also, there's a collective called Gen Z for Change. They get more views every day on TikTok than CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News combined. So wow. Yeah, so just to imagine that reach. So again, this is where people are, and it's about like meeting people where they are.
Is it Gen Z?
Yeah, it's called Gen Z for Change is their collective and their page. And they have, I think, like 6 content creators. The one girl actually just met with President Obama to do some stuff with him. So
thank you. I think you probably have to put someone to bed.
Yeah, I do.
We appreciate your time, and we will use
I hope this
for
was
a
helpful.
resource.
It was. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. It was great meeting you all, seeing all your faces. And please do not hesitate to reach out. My email is in the chat. And Dave, not Dave, sorry, it's been a day. Carl Young, I've been emailing with Dave Young all day. Carl has my email address. So please do not hesitate to reach out. I currently have my office phone and office line sent directly to voicemail. Because I got some nasty calls a couple of weeks ago. So please do email me.
Thank you.